I want to take just a few minutes and look at the last example from yesterday's notes. It should have the problems that affects are the last 4 in homework from last night. So you'll have an opportunity when we're checking homework and whatnot to check and see how it affects. But we looked at example 3, which was doubling every hour. This one focuses on half-life, and that's why I want to look at it. So suppose the half-life of a certain radioactive substance is 20 days, and there are 4 grams present initially. Find the time when there will be 1 gram of the substance remaining. And then, just a side note, half-life is the time it takes for a substance to decay itself to half of the original amount. I'm going to kind of take the same approach I took with example 3, where I kind of looked at the pieces. Okay, what happens after 1 hour, after 2 hours, after 3 hours, that type of thing. Except this time, what do I want to look at? What's my interval? We're talking days, but do I want to see what happens after 1 day? No, the first interval I want to look at is what happens after 20 days. Because my half-life interval is 20 days. So, as I said, like last time, we're going to start by looking at what happens after 20 days. So what are your thoughts about what happens after 20 days? Yeah, we start at 4. Half of it is gone, right? So half of 4 leaves us at 2. Now, if I lead you, and I know in this case, I'll be honest, we're not going to have an equation. But in homework, you had to write some equations, and that's what I'm trying to set you up for. I'm going to think about this the same as last time. It was 4 times a half, right? Or, again, if I lead you, it's 4 times how many halves? A half to the power of 1. And that equals my 2. Okay? So that was 20 days. When do I next look then? 20 days was my first interval. Next time we want to look is 40 days. Because you want to go in increments of 40. So now, after 40 days, what happens? I mean, if you want to go to the end, we were at 2, and so now we'll be at 1. Now, what are the pieces to get there? You originally started with 4. We multiplied by a half after 20 days. What do we do at 40 days? Multiply by a half again. That is 4 times 1/2 to the second. Now, what do you notice right here? That's the answer, isn't it? Which is why I said, do we even have to have the equation? No. When we were doing example 3, we kind of need that equation to help us along, especially because it was a decimal answer and whatnot. But in this case, you can see, when is it going to be 1 gram? And our answer is just after 40 days. Now, here's why I want to talk about the equation, though. Is we've got a little bit of a trick with the exponent. And so for those of you guys that looked at the homework, you may have looked at 15, 16, 17, and 18. And I don't know if you guys checked your odds in the back of the book or anything, but the exponents may have been slightly off. Or maybe you guys got it okay. I don't know. But that's why I want to talk about it. So when we think equation here, we look at it like we did earlier. It's P of T, yes? And what do we set up to say here? Okay, so I'm going to go with 4 times 1/2. Now, here's where I can't say to the T. Because T, what's the first number I'm going to put in? What's my first increment? My first increment was 20 days. So that means my first number I would put in is 20. But if 20 is my first interval, does that make sense? No, because that would be doing this half-life 20 times. We're not doing the half-life 20 times. After 20 days, that's just using it once. After 40 days, that's doing the interval twice. But the numbers we would put in would be 20 and 40. And so, instead, As I said, it's these exponents that are the problem. How can I put 20 in and 40 in, and they become 1 and 2? What do you have to do to 20 and 40 to respectfully make them 1 and 2? Divide them by 20. 20 divided by 20 would be 1. Is that what I want for my first exponent? Yeah. 40 divided by 20 is 2, and that's what I want for my second exponent. So the idea here is that instead of saying to the power of t, I'm going to say to the power of t over 20. And if you think about it, hopefully it'll make sense to you, because then this one would be 40 times 1/2 to the 20 divided by 20. This one would be 40 to the 1/2 to the 40 divided by 20, which is exactly what we wanted there. Okay? Again, 15 through 18 homework, you're going to see several exponents. And the fraction exponents have to happen when it's not just, if we were just putting in 1 day, 2 days, you could just have t or x, whatever it is. But since this was something other than 1, 2, 3, 4, we had to divide by that number as well. Okay? Does that make a little bit of sense? I don't know. Maybe I'm not giving you guys enough credit. Maybe the homework was just fun. So, okay. Grab your homework out. If after what I've said you feel like you need to go back and look at those, or maybe you didn't do them, be doing that right now, and then I am going to get the answer key out.